Hello everybody, it's me as always, your host Gambit896, and I am back with another novel review for you guys. Today I'll be reviewing George R. R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire, Book 2, Clash of Kings. This picks up directly after the events of the first book, Game of Thrones, which, you can see, I have here. So let me just read the back of the blurb to you guys, and I will delve a little bit more into the plot and the characters and so forth. So, a comet the colour of blood and flame cuts across the sky, and from the ancient citadel of Dragonstone to the forbidding shores of Winterfell, chaos reigns. 6 factions struggle for control of a divided land and the Iron Throne of the Seven Kingdoms, preparing to stake their claims through tempest, turmoil and war. It is a tale in which brother plots against brother, and the dead rise to walk in the night. Here a princess masquerades as an orphan boy, a knight of the mind prepares a poison for a treacherous sorceress even, and wild men descend from the mountains of the moon to ravage the countryside. Against a backdrop of incest and fratricide, alchemy and murder, victory may go to the men and women possessed of the coldest steel and the coldest hearts. For when kings clash, the whole land trembles. So in this story we pick up with such characters as Daenerys Targaryen in her rebirth from the events of the last book, and her Dothraki Khalasar. We also pick up with Robb Stark, who is trying to free Winterfell from the clutches of the Seven Kingdoms and become an independent realm or kingdom once again. We have Stannis Baratheon, who is trying to stake his rightful claim to the Iron Throne of Westeros, as he is Robert Baratheon's second eldest brother, and by right of succession the Iron Throne should be going to him. We have his youngest brother Renly, who has taken up arms against the other factions who are trying to vie for control of the Seven Kingdoms and the seat of power in Westeros, being the Iron Throne, and he feels that he should be king because he's much beloved by the people of Westeros. Nobody really likes Stannis all that much, so Renly is the favourite of the Baratheon family to take control of the Iron Throne and become king of Westeros. We have Joffrey Baratheon, or Joffrey Lannister, still being a power-mad, power-hungry little snot, and still thinking he's the king, he can do what he likes. But I really hope that George R. R. Martin writes somewhere in these books where Joffrey and his mother Cersei finally get their comeuppance, because those are the two characters you just absolutely love to hate. We also get probably my favourite character still doing his thing, and that is of course Tyrion Lannister. We also see a bit more of Arya Stark and Lord Tywin Lannister. In terms of new characters, we are introduced to Sir Davos Seaworth, who is a former smuggler and a former pirate, who is now Stannis Baratheon's right-hand man, or his consigliere, if you will. We also get introduced to Lady Melisandre, who is a red priestess, or the Red Woman as she's called, and she's a sorceress with some very weird powers, but she's still a very kind of, she's again another character that you're not too sure what her motivations are and what she's going to do within the story. Like I said, we have Robb Stark still fighting the Lannister forces, trying to free Winterfell from the clutches of the Seven Kingdoms. We have Jon Snow with his brothers in the Night's Watch beyond the wall, looking for his uncle Benjen Stark, and Jon gets into some trouble of his own with the Wildings and the White Walkers and such. Overall, this is a really great follow-up to the first story. I would say in terms of action and plot, it's much better than a Game of Thrones, which is ideally in any long-running book or novel series. You will get, you could start out with a really great first book, and then the series could get better and better. Case in point, the Harry Potter series. Admittedly, I think the first 3 books yeah, probably the first 3 books being the Philosopher's Stone or the Sorcerer's Stone, depending on if you're in America or the UK. The Chamber of Secrets and the Prisoner of Azkaban were more sort of younger adults, kids reads, and then from A Goblet of Fire through to so we had A Goblet of Fire, The Order of the Phoenix, The Half-Blood Prince, and The Deathly Hallows were definitely more older teenagers or more darker adult reads, if you will. So hopefully this series is very, very dark anyway. This is an adult novel or book series. This is definitely one not for the kids, or definitely not for younger readers anyway. So anyway, the first book is Game of Thrones, which I've also done a review of on my channel, and I'll put a link to that video below in the description. So overall, Game of Thrones, Song of Ice and Fire, Book 2, A Clash of Kings, is an absolutely fantastic read. We still get, we spend a lot of different time with various different characters. The pacing is something that might put a few people off, because the pacing for the first half of the book is a little bit slow, but then again, like I said, we spend a lot of time with various different characters, seeing the events in the story from their point of view, and what's going on with the various different characters in the story. So I suppose you could say that while the pacing might be a bit slow, we do get a lot more character screen time, if you will, and we do spend a lot more time with the various different characters of the stories. So that's probably the only kind of, not niggle, but the only thing bad I have with, the only kind of, it's neither a good point nor a bad point, it's just something that you need to sort of understand when you start reading these books. Like I said, I will say that the pacing in both of these books during the second half, or the first, not even the first half, I'd say the first third of each book is a little bit slow, but then again towards the next 2/3 it really picks up, and the action picks up, and there's a lot of, this book, like I said, it's not for young readers. It's definitely an adult book. There's, we have blood, guts, gore, incest, power, sex. This is a really kind of adult fantasy, an adult fantasy read in my opinion. But like I said, both A Game of Thrones, hang on, let me try and get this right this time. Both A Game of Thrones, which is book 1, and Clash of Kings, which is book 2, both really fantastic reads. The series is actually been developed into a TV series on HBO called A Game of Thrones, as you can hopefully see from the top of the book, and I'll put a link to the first 2 season trailers for season 1 and season 2 of A Game of Thrones. So if you're interested in a really adult medieval fantasy, medieval political intrigue TV series, highly recommend you check out both the Game of Thrones TV series and these books. I'm also going to put a link to, there's a new casting video which has been on YouTube for a little while now for Game of Thrones Season 3, which I believe is already in production. So for fans of the TV series, they're obviously not done with the TV series yet, because they have, there's, hold on, let me count, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, there's 5 books out so far, so that could be potentially a season for each book. And there's also another book due to come out, I think later on this year, called, just bear with me guys and I'll find out the name of the next book in the series for you guys. So I'll take you through the books and the reading order in a moment. Just bear with me 1 second. So the next book that is due to come out is called The Winds of Winter, which is due to come out there's not a due date or a release date out yet, but that's the next book. And then the latest book, as far as I'm aware, is called what's the other one called? It's Winds of Winter, and then it's called, oh boy, the next one is called A Dream of Spring, apparently. So the first two books, actually, I'll take you through I'll tell you what, I'll take you through the first three. So we have book 1, which is Game of Thrones, book 2, Clash of Kings, and finally, let me just grab book 3 so far, as that's the one I'm just currently starting to read at the moment. And book 3 is called A Storm of Swords, as you can see there from the bottom of the book. There are other books in this series. Like I said, there's another 5 books. There's 5 books in the series thus far. So in terms of what I've got left to read, there's another 2 books that I need to read of this series, and then the latest books that, like I said, there aren't any release or published dates yet, but the next 2 books after the latest one that's come out last year, which was A Dance with Dragons. So the next 2 books after that are The Winds of Winter and A Dream of Spring. So there's another 2 books for all you Song of Ice and Fire fans to look forward to. If you've read A Dance with Dragons and you're thinking, what's the next book, when's it going to be out? So there's some information for you guys. Unfortunately, I can't give you any publishing dates yet, as I'm just looking at the Wikipedia page, but as soon as I know anything, I'll probably put it in my next fortnightly vlog if I find out anything by then. So until next time, guys, this has been Gambit896 with my review of A Song of Ice and Fire, Book 2, Clash of Kings. Like I said, I'll put a link to my review of the first book, Game of Thrones, in the description for you guys. I'll also be putting some links to the first 2 seasons of A Game of Thrones, the trailers for those seasons, in the description as well, and I'll also put a link to the new cast video for A Game of Thrones Season 3 again in the description for you guys. So until next time, this is Gambit896 signing off, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care, guys.